So I'm here with Leslie Smith. And what are you doing this week in Kansas City?
This week I get to be here to do post-fight interviews, which are usually done for Invicta FC by Laura Senko, but she is in Brazil for the UFC, and so there's a spot and I get to fill in. So I'm super excited about being on that end of it.
So have you ever done any on-camera work where you're not the fighter?
This has been a goal of mine actually, to get into the broadcasting team for fights, specifically for Invicta fights, for quite a while. So to prepare for this, not that it was scheduled, but since this was my goal, what I've been doing is I've been commentating for some amateur shows in the Bay Area for the Titans Cage, and just jumping up whenever I get a chance. I jumped up at West Coast Fighting, and I've also been doing stand-up comedy to get faster with the comments and used to standing up in front of people and saying things. So I've been working towards it for a while.
I completely forgot the stand-up comedy. How is that going?
It's pretty fun. It's super fun. Adam Hunter with MMA Roasted has been super cool and been really encouraging, and gave me a chance to open for him in Las Vegas, which was awesome. It was such a cool thing. I'm glad I didn't know that there were 170 people in the room until afterward. And I could have done it in New York as well, but I'm getting ready for a fight right now, and I knew that I wasn't going to go out and spend every night in bars doing the open mic, so I decided that I'm going to wait until afterwards. So it's a little bit on the side, the comedy thing right now, but it's really fun and I like it, and I'm probably going to keep doing it when I'm not in camp.
So I'm not going to go tell me a joke, but everyone has inspirations in the cage, for fighters. Who are your inspirations in comedy?
In comedy, that's actually easier for me to answer than in fighting, believe it or not. But Mick Foley and Adam Hunter are the two people. Mick Foley was probably one of the very first comedy shows that I actually got to go to. And that was because he reached out to me after my ear got messed up, because his ear came off inside of a match. And he's such a cool guy. Then so it was really nice getting to watch how he does his comedy show, because it's mostly his fans, people who already love him for his wrestling. And so the way he does it is it's more like storytelling, which is cool. And that actually made me think that it's possible for me to do it, because I don't have that same quick wit of attacking people in the audience when they say whatever, but I can tell stories. So he was super encouraging. And then Adam Hunter is just awesome, and he even makes fight jokes too. And it's been really cool. I've definitely watched him more than anybody else and tried to learn from him.
Okay, now when you're not working on your stand-up comedy routine, you said you are in fight camp.
Yeah.
What are you in fight camp for right now?
I'm getting ready to fight. It's going to be on December 17th in Sacramento on, I believe it's a UFC on Fox card, so it's going to be free even, and it's against Irene Aldana. It's going to be her first fight after her last couple fights have been in Invicta, and I'm excited to welcome her to the UFC. It's going to be my first time fighting locally, too. I've never gotten to fight locally in my entire fighting career. So I had been offered a fight in Ireland, and I turned it down because I wanted to fight locally, and then it worked out. So things are going good right now.
I assume by watching Invicta, you've seen some of Aldana's fights. What do you think of her?
I think she's great. I wanted to go train with her actually before this got scheduled. I've maybe not super publicly, but I've been talking about wanting to go out and train with her and Alexa Grasso, because I like what they're doing out there, and I love a chance to go practice speaking some Spanish. So I'm probably gonna keep the banter friendly leading up to it, so that that's still a possibility in the future. But I know she has really good boxing and that she's very quick, and so it's going to be up to me to set my own pace and not chase, and not let her get the points on me, which is what a lot of faster people do, is they tend to get a lot of points. Although she's gotten a lot of finishes too. We fought some of the same people. We both fought Jessamine Duke and won pretty much the exact same way. So I think it'll be an exciting matchup.
Yeah, I mean, she's known as to me, a very exciting stand-up striker. Is this seems like the fight that like you kind of crave, right?
Yeah, totally. Someone who's not afraid to stand up and go for it and get in the middle and take advantage of the whole cage, and that's what I like.
Okay, so you're doing broadcast, you're doing stand-up comedy, you're also fighting. I saw you post, you did a little traveling, a little bit of activism. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I got to go out to North Dakota and join the water protectors who are protesting the Dakota Access Pipeline in Cannonball. Well, it's right next to Cannonball, Standing Rock. And that was an amazing experience. It was such a cool thing to go out there, and I really felt strengthened by all the people who were there, and they were so gracious and appreciative, and everyone that I interacted with was, man, just saying everything that I always hope that people are gonna say when they're talking about a cause, about peaceful prayer and how the right side is gonna win, and how they have faith and they know that they're doing the right thing and that they're gonna prevail. And it's a beautiful thing. I think it's horrible what's going on with the pipeline right now.
Can you explain exactly what's going on?
Yeah, totally. Sorry, I'm just jumping into it. I'm all excited. So what's happening is there's a pipeline. Dakota Access is the Dakota Access Pipeline is a pipeline that's like 1,200 miles long. It's a long pipeline, and it's going from the fracking fields in North Dakota, and it's going across 4 states from North Dakota through Iowa, through Illinois and Indiana, I think. Maybe I should double check that stuff before I say it. But it's going through all these different states, and fracking is bad for the environment in the first place. Every single study has shown that. And pipelines are bad for the environment. There's the argument that pipelines are better than the other methods of transporting oil, because if oil is moved in trucks or trains, that they have spills and accidents way more frequently. But I and the majority of people that I've talked to, granted that is the people that I tend to talk to, believe that we need to be moving away from fossil fuels, especially with all of the climate change and global warming that's going on right now, and we have the technology and the capabilities to move away from fossil fuels. So there's that aspect. So that's just the pipeline and the environmental aspect. But to top it off, not to top it off, as if that isn't enough, or as if one matter isn't enough on its own, but also there's the fact that the pipeline was originally routed and it was going to cross a river north of Bismarck, but the people in Bismarck said, no, we don't want it there because it's going to mess up with our water supply. It could potentially mess up our water supply. So they said, okay, you know what? We'll just go ahead and we'll run it right over under. It's supposed to go under the river above the reservation, below Bismarck. So what's happening is that a predominantly white community said, no, we don't want that here. Go find another place. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. We'll go do it to the Native Americans. It'll be fine down there. And there's even more issues with that. There's issues about the public property and who the area belongs to, the different treaties that were signed between the U.S. and the tribes, and how those treaties are not being fulfilled or honored, and how the land, which is private property now, was originally supposed to be part of reservations, but as the U.S. does, they've been slowly separating and cutting apart and shrinking all those reservations for years, and now they want to go ahead and put this pipeline in, but it's going across burial grounds, it's going across sacred grounds, and there's just so many reasons that it's wrong. And so it's grown into a really big thing. It was a beautiful thing. I got to spend not a long time there. It was only 4 days because I needed to come home and train and whatnot. But I'm going to go back. Hopefully it'll be over, and I will only just go back to shake everyone's hands and say thank you so much for protecting this land because we all need it. I think that everyone's going to end up thanking the protesters who don't want to be called protesters. They want to be called water protectors. I think everybody is going to end up thanking them eventually.
What was your what did you gain from that experience that maybe you just didn't expect at all? What was the biggest shock maybe of that whole experience?
The biggest shock of that experience, I am going to say, was the strength that I got coming home from it. And I didn't say very much about it. I didn't mention it to anybody else, but I really felt strengthened in just some way, like emboldened, like I felt stronger about my opinions, and it was carrying through with everything. I found myself standing up more in different situations where maybe in the past I've kind of been like, whatever, I'm gonna focus on my thing and not deal with these other things. And I know that's vague. I'm being kind of vague about stuff, but I guess that it just strengthened me. It strengthened my resolve in all aspects of life. And then I saw many other people posting about how they felt different after being out there as well. And I don't know if it was the land. It's sacred land, and I'm not tapped into that kind of thing, but I definitely believe it. Or if it was the people, being around so many people who are unified and holding on to that strength. I don't know what it was, but it was real and tangible, and I'm happy to be carrying it with me now.
When you were out there, were you just Leslie Smith, the water protector, or were you Leslie Smith, hey, there's a UFC fighter here?
I'm really low key. I don't usually tell everyone. That's not how I introduce myself. I'm a fighter, hey. But the way it worked out was I got there at 1:00 at nighttime, and I set up my tent and parked my car and went to go use a porta potty, and then tried to go find my tent and could not find it. So I ended up spending the rest of the night with the security, and I got to meet the head of the security, Don Cooney, amazing guy, doing amazing things out there, keeping all the water protectors as safe as he can. And I was able to say, can I do the security? I felt like that was a somewhat appropriate thing for me to do. And it was, so that's what I did. I guess that's my answer, is that I got to do security. I was guarding the gates, and it was amazing. I was just a water protector. I wasn't Leslie the fighter. I did mention that I was a fighter when he was like, why would you want to be security? Can you handle yourself? And I was like, well, I do fight professionally. And he was like, okay, all right, that works. But really that's as far as it went. And I was just, man, I was taking a back seat because I saw other people coming in. I saw a lot of other white people coming in, and they would sit down at the campfires, and then they would be like, oh, you know how you should be doing this, or you should be doing this, or I think what you guys should be doing is this. And I was just like, oh my gosh, who are these people to just come in here for a day and then tell the people who've been here for months camping in this field already how it should be done, because they're the ones doing it. It was an interesting thing. So I wasn't being that person. I was being a pretty quiet, in the background, just trying to help wherever I could person.
I guess now, how do you transition from that kind of community to basically a very selfish sport? Now it's all about you and your training camp. How have you used that experience, or is it totally separate? How does it translate to training now for your big fight with Aldana?
Well, MMA, it is true that we have to be selfish to be a successful MMA fighter. We can't give everyone all the attention that they want, or even all the attention that we want to give to somebody else. But at the same time, even though I'm a fighter, I'm also a teammate. I'm a corner, and as soon as I came back, I got to jump into a training camp for my teammate, Carrie Melendez, who's fighting on Bellator on this Saturday, actually. And man, I got to corner her before when she fought for Bellator, and I'd never gotten to corner before. I had always been the fighter. And so it was a great experience, and it was wonderful to get to see the other side of it and to get to practice looking out for someone in the way that I want to get looked out for as I'm getting ready for a fight. So it does seem like it isn't just that it seems, we do have to be selfish, but in order for one person to be selfish, there's a lot of other people who have to be really giving. And so I'm happy to be on both sides of that when I can.
Okay, and final thing, what's the scariest? Fighting in the octagon, stand-up comedy, being a broadcaster, or traveling across the country with a bunch of strangers and protecting ancient Native American burial grounds. What's the scary? What was the scariest? Which one's the scariest?
Well, out of all those, I'm probably going to say that for me right now, the scariest is probably going to be doing this broadcast, getting to be part of the broadcast team and doing these post-fight interviews. Laura Senko is such a pro, and the entire Invicta FC broadcasting team is so good, and everything is so tight and well done that I definitely don't want to be the loose screw. There's a lot to live up to, and I don't have as much experience in that department. So whether that's really the scariest out of them all, that's the one that's eclipsing everything for me at this point.
Cool. Thank you very much, Leslie.
Thank you.